If you have PCOS and feel like every time you try to eat healthy, it somehow still does not work, you are not crazy. You've probably been told to cut carbs, ditch dairy, go keto, just lose weight, and somehow all of your symptoms are still there. You're still having cravings, your cycles are still irregular, and you are struggling to lose weight. Here's the truth though, nutrition for PCOS is not about just cutting everything out. It's about learning how foods actually work with your body and incorporating the ones that actually support you and your hormones. In this video, I'm going to show you the simple framework that I use with my PCOS clients to balance blood sugar levels and support hormones, all without restrictive dieting. I'm Alyssa, I'm a registered dietitian. I also have PCOS, so I get it. Let's get into it. If you take only one thing away from this video, let it be this. Protein is going to be your metabolic anchor. And it's not just for building muscle mass. Protein is one of the most important tools that we can utilize for improving how our body responds to insulin. When you eat enough protein, it slows down glucose absorption and prevents insulin spikes. It keeps you feeling full for longer, and it can positively impact your hunger and your fullness hormones, which can help with weight loss if that's one of your goals. And it does support lean muscle mass, which really improves insulin resistance. For most women with PCOS, I generally recommend aiming for anywhere between 25 to 35 grams of protein per meal, but you might find that you feel just fine with a little less protein than that, or you might find that you need a little bit more to really keep you feeling full until that next meal. And some of those protein sources that you might be incorporating could look like eggs, Greek yogurt, cottage cheese, chicken, turkey, lean red meat, fish, seafood, or even tofu, tempeh, or edamame. I really find that most women are under-eating protein, and that really can trigger cravings, especially later on in the day and evening. A lot of people hear that protein is super important, so they focus all of their nutrition efforts there and forget about another really important nutrient, which is fiber. But fiber is literally a queen. She helps to stabilize everything and can help to keep your blood sugar levels more stable. It slows down absorption so you feel full for longer periods of time, and it can really improve your digestive and gut health. If you struggle with constipation or diarrhea, fiber can really help to resolve some of those symptoms. But even if you don't have any of those obvious digestive issues, gut health is still really important to focus on because it is linked with insulin sensitivity, inflammation, and overall hormone balance. And when I said that most women are falling short on getting enough protein in their day, I find that even more people are falling short on their fiber goals. I think there's a statistic that about 90% of Americans are only getting 10 to 15 grams of fiber per day, which is about half of what we should really be aiming for. And if you're cutting out carbs for the interest of trying to keep your blood sugars more stable, you're probably getting even less fiber because you are only going to get fiber from foods that have carbohydrates. So when people say to just cut out carbs, this really isn't helpful advice because carbs really aren't the issue. Instead of demonizing all carbs, we want to focus on healthy carbs or high fiber carbs because these are the types of carbs that can really keep blood sugar levels stable and help to support that gut microbiome. So those high fiber types of carbs usually look like fruits, vegetables, whole grains like oats, quinoa, farro, or it could be legumes like lentils, beans, and chickpeas. Because ultimately, carbs are not the problem. It's those low fiber, refined types of carbs that are more of an issue, or carbs that are just eaten by themselves and not paired with other nutrients that support blood sugar levels. So even when you are choosing those high fiber, healthy carbs, you do want to pair them with protein and healthy fats for optimal blood sugar levels. Another mistake that I see women with PCOS making all the time is trying to go low fat or fat-free for weight loss. And I totally understand the logic behind it because fat is a very calorie-dense nutrient. So when you're eating foods that have fat in them, the calories can add up really quickly. So if weight loss is your goal, it makes sense that you would want to try to limit or cut calories. But the problem is that we need fat for hormone production. So when you cut fat out of your diet or drastically limit it, hormone production can really be put on the back burner, which is literally the opposite of what we want to be happening when we have PCOS. When you incorporate healthy fats, this can actually lower inflammation, it can support vitamin absorption, It can support hormone production, and it also keeps your blood sugar levels more stable and keeps you feeling more full after a meal. And when I say healthy fats, I'm talking about foods like avocados, olive oil, avocado oil, nuts, seeds, nut butter like peanut butter or almond butter, or also fatty fish like salmon, herring, or mackerel, or sardines. When you combine protein, high fiber carbs, and healthy fats, you create a blood sugar friendly meal, and you're gonna feel much more full for longer periods. And when you consistently build meals in this way, you become more insulin sensitive, less inflamed, and you start to see improvements in those PCOS symptoms. So you start to have more energy, less cravings, more regular periods and ovulation, less acne, less mood swings, and less extra hair growth. This is one of the most simple shifts that you can make in your diet, and that is by incorporating more non-starchy vegetables. So these are the vegetables that are going to be high in fiber, high in antioxidants, and can really provide volume at meals to help fill you up. So you're going to be thinking about vegetables like broccoli, kale, spinach, cauliflower, Brussels sprouts, peppers, onions, asparagus, carrots, green beans. And you want to really try to aim for about half of your plate with these non-starchy vegetables. And if you're not a huge veggie person, that's okay. Most of us really don't enjoy plain, unseasoned chicken either. So what do? We sauce it, we season it, and we add different flavors to it to make it more enjoyable for us. And I want you to take that same energy into your vegetables. Most people just steam their vegetables and call it a day. And honestly, those are so boring. So find a way that you really enjoy vegetables. It does not take away from the health benefits if you are adding a little bit of cheese on top of it or a little bit of a sauce to really help to make it more palatable and enjoyable for you. Now, if you're following along and you're thinking, okay, but how do I actually put this into practice? What does this actually look like when I'm eating meals on a day-to-day basis? And if that's your question, I want you to picture this PCOS plate. This is a really simple visual framework that works especially well for lunch and dinner time meals. Picture one of those partition plates that you probably had when you were a kid. So you are going to want about half of your plate to be those non-starchy vegetables. You want about a quarter of your plate to be a protein source. The other quarter, or 25% of your plate, should be a high fiber carb source. And then you want to make sure that you are adding in some healthy fats to that plate as well. So that might look like salmon with broccoli roasted in olive oil, salt and pepper, and then some quinoa. It could look like chicken with mashed potatoes and green beans, or it could look like a tofu stir fry with loads of veggies, brown rice, and some sesame oil as well. When you build your meals this way, you're going to naturally stabilize blood sugar levels, improve insulin resistance, lower inflammation, support healthier testosterone levels, and feel full and satisfied for longer, just curbing those cravings. So instead of asking the question, can I or should I eat this? Start asking yourself, how can I work this into the PCOS plate method? That shift alone changes your entire mindset and really can set you up for success. So if this feels simpler than what you've been told in the past, that's literally the point. PCOS nutrition is not about eliminating a ton of foods that you enjoy. It's more about structure, balance, and consistency. Your diet doesn't need to be perfect. It needs to be sustainable. That's where you start to really see the magic happen and you start to see improvements in your PCOS symptoms. Make sure to watch my next video, PCOS Friendly Breakfasts for Blood Sugar Balance, where I'll walk you through real life examples of how to set up that first meal of the day. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.